Hey guys, okay, I have some issues with YouTube, so please let me know if you can see me or hear me. Not quite sure what has happened. Okay. Hey guys, is anyone here or okay, let's see. So I apologize again, I have some YouTube issues and it is hard to handle them. Okay, so are we live actually? I'm not quite sure. Okay, Debbie, so can you hear me? Yeah, it is a mess. Okay, so let me think of how to proceed now. Yeah, I'm sorry guys, I have some issues with YouTube. I wasn't able to use the link for our webinar today, so I'm just trying to figure this out right now. Okay, so I see we have some people here now. Let me check if I can. At least the name of the live stream. Okay. So I apologize again. I don't know, YouTube has changed something and it's a big mess right now to live stream. I don't know, it's just hard. It's not what it used to be. I'm not able to use the link I created, which I sent you earlier. So yeah, okay. Hi. Did it change the name of the live stream? If you can just let me know, guys. Does it say Learning Astrology or it's something else? So can you please let me know if everything is okay with the title or it's just... Oh wow, yeah, those things happen. Yeah, okay, Learning Astrology. Okay, just let me also add something. We are gonna start in a couple of minutes, I promise you. I apologize again. So yeah, just give me 1 minute. I want to copy the link here. Okay. Okay. Wow, so let me just take a couple of seconds to relax. It was quite difficult for me to handle this. I apologize again that we have a new link for this live stream, but I promise everyone will receive the recording. So I hope you guys are ready to begin. Welcome to everyone who is watching now or who will join us later. We have an amazing topic to discuss, which I believe that all of you are interested in. It's about astrology, of course, and specifically about people who would like to learn astrology on their own for themselves, or who would like to become professional astrologers. So I will also explain my perspective about it, some things which can be helpful for you, some principles, basic principles, which I deeply believe in. And of course, I will talk about Mars Stars Astrology Academy, which will begin during September. On the 22nd of September, we have our first lecture. So I will explain more about it, and if you have any questions about the Academy, you are welcome to ask them. So let me share quickly the main things we are gonna discuss today. We are gonna start with the benefits. Which are the benefits of learning astrology personally for you? What it can bring in your life, what it can help you with, specific issues that we all have. So which are the main benefits? Also, what do you need personally in order to become an astrologer or a good astrologer? Which are the personal qualities which I believe are extremely important, and what you should focus on if you really want to be a good astrologer. Also, we are going to talk about the need to work on yourself and why it's important. Also about mistakes in astrology. This is a topic which I think is not very popular, so I will share my perspective about the mistakes in astrology. Also about different levels of, evolutionary levels of development, soul development, and how it relates to when you are analyzing someone else's chart. Also, which is the most difficult, or also which is the most creative thing in astrology. And of course some other things like the hero's journey, very interesting concept, and some other interesting stuff, all related to astrology. Okay, so if you have any questions, please save them for the end of the webinar. I will try to answer your questions related to the topic, of course. So let's start. Which are the benefits of learning astrology? What is it that you can gain by learning astrology? First of all, very quickly, even though I believe you're all familiar with that, what does astrology analyzes or explores? It's the connection between us, the individual, and the universe. And by analyzing the position of planets, especially the planets from our solar system, we can talk about personal characters, we can talk about personal qualities or life scenarios, or so many things basically which affect the person himself. So obviously by learning astrology, first you can understand yourself so much better. And you may understand why you are reacting in certain ways, why you're facing with certain challenges, or which are the main things that you need to, to focus on. So the first great benefit is that you will understand yourself so much better. A secondary benefit here is that eventually you are going to be able to appreciate and love yourself deeper. When you understand, because very often I have found out that many of us are really judgmental, really critical with ourselves. We blame ourselves. Well, why did I react this way? Or why do I procrastinate? Or, many options here. And we are kind of, judging ourselves. But when you explore your chart, when you learn astrology, you actually see that this is just who you are. This is, who you are supposed to be. Your nature, your character. So in this way, you can really understand yourself and accept yourself. Obviously, you may do the same thing with other people. So you can understand better your family. I think that's one of the starting points, to understand your parents, maybe even to forgive them for their mistakes, for what they weren't able to give you, or for whatever the case is. So by seeing someone's chart and seeing their own challenges and their nature, it becomes much more difficult to judge them and to criticize them. For example, you see that, let's say, your mother has the moon in Capricorn in conjunction with Saturn. And of course, you will understand that it's absolutely, well, let's not say it impossible, but it's so difficult for her to be warm, to express emotions, to be tender. She understands care in a different way. For her, it's about, doing the right thing, providing the safe environment, learning you to follow rules, and so on. So by understanding the chart of your closest people, you will be able also to heal those relationships. By understanding, why people are reacting or behaving in different ways. So I think that this is a crucial benefit of learning astrology. Connecting, understanding yourself, but also understanding other people, and eventually even healing your relationships with people. On the next level, you understand how this world works, really. You understand the models, so much psychology behind that as well. But also you gain the understanding that everything in the outer world resonates with what's going on inside of you, with your personal chart. And this also gives you the tools or the confidence that you have the ability to change the environment around you by using your own chart, different indications there, in a different way. All of that can be learned in astrology by exploring your own horoscope. And what is the personal horoscope actually? This is the chart, or this is the position of the planets at the very moment when you were born. The day, the hour, the place where you were born. But also this is like a contract. The contract which your soul has accepted with the universe when it has decided to incarnate here. So my personal understanding is that the horoscope is not random. It's not just, like the lottery, oh, you're lucky, or no, sorry, you're not that lucky. It's all something which we have worked for, something which we have accepted, our soul. When, it's literally, in my opinion, like a contract which we have accepted, which we have signed up for. So a better understanding, astrology gives you a better understanding about the universe, about how the world works, and what is it that you can do to change things, to improve things, to understand how they really work. Of course, there are other benefits which are related to handling with some challenging transits. So let's say that you have a difficult Uranus transit. And Uranus is the planet which rules astrology. So by learning astrology, actually, you may handle much easier with those challenging aspects, or also with Pluto's transit, even with Neptune's transit. So astrology can help you even more when you're in the middle of a crisis. Because the truth is that real astrologers, or not necessarily professional ones, but even those who do it with passion, who dive deep into this topic, they are all there because they have had a serious issue in their life. And here is another interesting thing, that astrology is an occult knowledge. So what does occult mean? It means that it's something secret. At the same time, it's secret because, on the superficial level, this newspaper astrology, in magazines, you learn things which honestly are very superficial. For example, they explore only your sun sign, they tell you a couple of characteristics, and that's it. So that's the superficial level, which is open. This is not secret, but beyond that is the secret. And the secret is in the depth of astrology, the depth which astrology can provide to you. But in order to get there, you need to be allowed. And usually you're allowed to go there into this depth when you're in the middle of a crisis. I can confirm that personally in my life, that I found astrology in the middle of a huge life crisis. Personal, health, vocation, everything was a mess in my life. And I found astrology in that important time. And I know that if I wasn't there, if I wasn't in the middle of this personal life crisis, I wouldn't be able to go so deep into astrology. So if you are also in the middle of a crisis, first of all, you should find the lesson there and the opportunity to grow, because there is always an opportunity to grow. And in that time, astrology can be extremely helpful for you to understand what's the meaning, what's happening, who you are, what you're supposed to do here, what's your mission, what's your lesson. And yes, of course, you can always consult a professional astrologer. That's a great idea. You may benefit a lot from it, to receive support, advice, understanding. But the truth is that the biggest benefits you can get only by learning astrology on your own. That's, the most important thing. That, if you want to get all of the benefits, you need to explore this on your own, to learn astrology. So another benefit, as I said, is that astrology helps us a lot in the middle of life crisis, or even post-life crisis, to understand what has happened, what you're supposed to do. And this can be quite challenging sometimes, but I think that's the path. That's because to be an astrologer, to explore, to learn astrology, it's a life path. It's not something which comes so easily, in my opinion. If you want to be, really good at it, to understand it, to use it on your own, it requires efforts, it requires, strength, it requires patience. I think that it's one of the most important personal qualities that you need to develop also, to be patient when you are learning astrology. And also another benefit of learning astrology is that it gives you optimism. It brings you optimism, to see the meaning of things, to know that better times will come, that everything happens for a reason, that we are not victims, we are part of all of everything which is happening. So astrology may be really helpful for people who feel lost, especially for people who feel kind of depressed or, apathic, because Uranus, the planet of astrology, is a planet which, brings optimism. It can help you to overcome the sadness, the depression, whatever, you're struggling with. So astrology helps a lot for that. Now, let's talk about which are some of the qualities that you need if you want to learn astrology. The personal qualities that you need. I think that the most important is passion, desire to learn. In order to be an astrologer, you need to be constantly hungry for knowledge. Knowledge about yourself, about how things work, about other people, about psychology, philosophy, maybe other things as well. But the most important is the desire for knowledge. I would call it passion. For me, it's passion, it's even obsession to learn, to explore, to, gain information and knowledge. So this is a very important thing. The other thing is, as I said, patience. Honestly, you cannot become a professional astrologer or a really good astrology student over 2 or 3 months. It's just not gonna happen. In order to understand astrology, you will, the real depth, the real possibilities of astrology, you need to work on that constantly for months and months, and then years and years, and then decades and decades. So it's a constant path of moving forward and learning. So you need patience in this process. But remember that the patience is rewarded. The efforts are rewarded. But don't think that this is something you can learn over 1 month course or training. You may have an idea, you may learn something very interesting and valuable, but it's not what, the whole depth of astrology. That's my point here. So you really need patience. And if you also want to consult people to be a professional astrologer, a very important quality you need, or personal characteristic, is love for other people, desire to help. I will be completely honest here that I have seen astrologers who don't have this love for other people. I have even heard astrologers who say, well, I don't really like people, I just like the science of it. But in my opinion, those are not good astrologers. Because in order to be a really good astrologer, your motivation also should be the desire to help the other person. And I know that for me, this is my number one goal when I'm consulting someone. Whether it's a live conversation or I'm recording the horoscope for someone, it doesn't matter. My prayer is always, to God to use me to help this person in the way that they need. in the way that their soul needs, which is something different from, telling people what they want to hear. It's something different. But if you really want to be a good astrologer, to help others, you need to have this love for them, to help them. And here we also have something important to discuss. What is it that you can tell other people, when you are consulting? The truth is that if you consult people, you're going to work mostly with people who have problems and who need solutions. And here the trick is that, some people will expect to hear, only positive things. Honestly, I have had clients who say, oh, tell me that everything is gonna change during this year. I will have this dream job and a new partner and so on. And before I look at their charts, I'm warning them and I'm saying, look, I really want to help you. It's much easier actually to make a positive prediction, honestly. It's much easier for the astrologer. But I don't think that it's fair to lie someone. So I'm telling them in advance, look, I will tell you the truth of what I'm seeing. I may try to think of, offering you constructive ways to work with the challenges, but I cannot make up things which I don't see. So just decide whether this is what you want right now. So I'm being honest. When you're a consultant, my principles at least are those that you are not allowed to lie other people, for good or for bad. At the same time, you shouldn't tell other people things which will, crush them or which will make them devastated. So here is the biggest art actually, the biggest challenge, and something which you learn by experience, to be in the middle, not to, to dramatize, to suppress the person, and yet tell them the truth. You may create your own principles as well. For example, I have the principle of not discussing death. I don't make predictions about death, the personal death or death of close people, or how you are supposed to die. I'm just not analyzing this topic. I think that this is something which is decided also on other levels. You can call it God, the universe, whatever, but I don't think that it's ethical to make predictions about that. So I'm just not doing it, and I'm being honest with my clients. But if a woman is desperate, to find a partner, and she comes and she tells you, oh, please tell me, I will meet him this year, I'm so lonely. She starts sharing. Of course, your job is your work, your mission is to support her, to be compassionate. But if you don't see indications for possible relationship, you are not supposed to make this up just to comfort her for this moment. You may advise her how she can prepare, to attract the right partner, or which are the possible mistakes she might be doing in relationships. So always the motivation, always is how I can help this person. In my opinion, that's the most important. Sometimes it means telling the client things which are difficult, But if that's your motivation, always the client is the most important. The person is the most important. That's how you will become a better astrologer eventually. Because in order to become a better or a good or an excellent astrologer, you need lots of knowledge, you need the information, you need the structure to know what does aspect means, or planets, everything. You need that. You need also lots of experience to practice it. With people you meet, with colleagues, family, and so on. But in order to become extraordinary, exceptional astrologer, I'm not sure how to put it actually into words, but you need to be allowed to go there by a higher source, to create your own channel, to process this information. And it doesn't mean that you have to be a psychic. I'm personally not a psychic. I don't literally see or hear things. I just have a strong intuition, and the more I'm practicing all of those things, the stronger it becomes. And it's like a channel which you are, connecting through to the universe, the subconscious, or whatever you want to call it. So the higher your moral is, your ethic and everything, when your motivation is to help people, that's how you become a better astrologer, or an extraordinary, excellent astrologer. Okay, so the next thing is very interesting about mistakes in astrology. Here also I want to mention something which in the Russian school our greatest teacher told us. So it's about like a joke story maybe for diplomats and astrologers. Diplomat, I think you know who those people are. They communicate, there's lots of politics there. So what the diplomat can say: if a diplomat tells you that something will happen for sure, well, it actually means it might happen. If the diplomat tells you, well, it might happen, it actually means it won't happen. And if a diplomat tells you this isn't gonna happen, he's just not a real diplomat. Just diplomats, they are not allowed, or it's not accepted for them to say no. So if a diplomat tells you no, he's just not a real diplomat. If an astrologer tells you no, this isn't gonna happen, it really means no, it's just not gonna happen. If the astrologer tells you it's possible, it might happen, it means that it's really possible and it might happen. And if an astrologer tells you yes, it will happen, it's 100% sure, it means he's not a real astrologer. So what's the essence here? The essence is that astrology, especially when you're making prediction, sometimes actually you are able to say if something is impossible to happen. For example, you don't see indications for possible marriage during this year, then it's just not possible, it's not gonna happen. If you see indications for possible marriage, you may say yes, there are chances. Now here it depends on what the indications are. For example, you may have small chance, you may have very strong high chance possibility for that. So you may vary here. You may say, well, yeah, it's 50-50, or oh, it's like 80 or up to 90% possible to happen. But you can never say it's 100% for sure. It's just not professional, because it also depends on what the person will do. It depends on many other things. So this is important and you just need to accept that. If you really want to become an astrologer, a professional astrologer, you have to accept that you can never tell clients it's 100% for sure that it will happen. Yes, you have great chances, it's highly likely that it can happen, but that's the best you can give people. You never say it's guaranteed, because nothing is guaranteed actually. And here, as an astrologer, you just need to accept that that's what the science is, you know. And some people here may say, well, what's the point then? Astrology, it's just not perfect. And here is my perspective here. We are trying to make something perfect only in the cases when we doubt the value of it. If you see the real value, the real quality in something, you accept it as it is, even though it's not perfect. That's my perspective about astrology as well. Yes, we don't have a 100% guarantee, and yet it's so valuable to have astrology, to know it and to use it. And you have to accept also that there will be mistakes here. And it's not something that many astrologers will tell you, but that happens. Astrology is science, and like every other science, it makes mistakes. And the astrologer himself, he's also a person, and like every other person, he also makes mistakes. And that's just something you have to accept. It doesn't mean that you stay where you are. No, you should constantly grow and learn. Even though I'm practicing astrology for years as my main and only career, actually, I'm still learning. I'm still finding ways, you know, how I can become better. What is it that I can add to my understanding, to my practice? So it's constant developing, self-developing, you know, but you should always just, you know, accept this, that there will be mistakes, but it doesn't mean that, you know, you should give up or, you know, it's pointless. That's my perspective, that's my understanding. Another interesting, important principle is that you really need to know yourself very well if you want to be a good consultant for other people. That's true not only for the astrologer, but also for psychologists and any other career where you are supporting other people. Because if you don't know yourself, you know, if there are many suppressed things in your shadow, you are much more likely to see the same things in other people. So you just won't be able to interpret their charts correctly, because in their chart you are going to see your own problems because you haven't worked on them, you haven't seen them, they are not in your conscious mind. That's very, very important. You know, the same is true for psychologists. First, you have to go through psychotherapy yourself in order to become a good psychotherapist. And if you want to be a really good astrologer, consulting others, advising others, you have to start with yourself, exploring your own chart, bit by bit, aspect by aspect, you know, every detail. And this is a process, you know, but don't forget about it, that you have to start with yourself, to understand yourself very well. Otherwise, you are going to see your own issues in other people's charts. And there is also, here is another tendency that your temper, your character, your mindset, your belief system, all of that affects your interpretations and what you are seeing in a chart. I have a colleague, and she has some challenging Scorpio things. She has the moon in Scorpio with Uranus there, some other things, and Saturn also in a challenging position. So she's constantly you know, exploring the topic about death. And she has shared this with me. You know what? Every time when I look at the chart, my first thought is, how is this person gonna die? Or when she makes predictions, she explores, oh, is it possible that he's gonna die or someone else is gonna die this year? That's how she interprets things. So you really need to work on your own issues if you want to be helpful for other people. So there is a lot of, personal growth related here, to when you're exploring your chart and consulting other people. Another thing also I wanted to mention, what was it? Yes, I remembered. If you start working with clients, you will notice that most of your clients will resonate with you in a way. I have seen also other astrologers, one in particular, and she complained that, why I'm constantly attracting some kind of criminals or people who are, in the shadow, or more specific people. Well, she also had some Scorpio 8th house issues, and that's the type of clients she's attracting, often. In my case, I have noticed that especially in the last 1-2 years, I'm attracting mostly people who are interested in spiritual growth. It doesn't mean that, they don't work or they are not interested in career or relationships. Of course they are, but they are also interested in spiritual growth. And I am myself interested in that. So observe, just like, the other people you're attracting in your life, they are like a mirror to you, of what's going on, what you need to work on. The same is true for your clients. What type of clients you're attracting, they also resonate with you. Okay, and another here important thing about the evolutionary levels. You can interpret correctly and in depth the chart of people who are on your own spiritual level or under your level. If someone is on a higher level than you, spiritually, mostly spiritually as the evolutionary level of the soul, if he is much higher than you, you won't be able to interpret correctly the chart. And very often it's just like a blockage. You just see that, well, I cannot really understand this chart so correctly, or I'm not seeing things, what should I do? You should accept that as well and just, tell the person, I don't feel like I can really help you. And that's okay, to tell no to other people. So that's very important. And another reason, that also to grow, if you want to help more people, you should grow on your own, personally, spiritually. Extremely important point. Okay, let me see also. Another thing, as an astrologer, a student, or a professional one, you shouldn't be afraid to say, I don't know. Because in some cases, people may ask you questions, or there might be charts which are just difficult for you to understand. You shouldn't be afraid to admit that, and you shouldn't be ashamed or to beat yourself up about it or criticize yourself. That's normal and it happens. So don't be ashamed or afraid to say, I don't know. I remember some cases in my practice. For example, there was a client who asked me, I don't remember the specific question, but it sounded like this. What would have happened in my life if 20 years ago I didn't marry my partner, my husband? And honestly, I told her, I don't know. This is not something which I can explain to you, how it means that I should go back 20 years ago and, recreate her whole life, if she has taken another path. I don't know, honestly, I don't know. So I told her, I'm sorry, I cannot help you with that. I can explain relationship area, what might be the issues with your partner, what you should work on, generally the scenario in this area. We can talk about prediction, but I cannot go back 20 years ago and, recreate your whole life, if you have chosen another partner, for example, or you didn't marry this partner. So sometimes people ask those questions, and if you feel like it's not part of your competence, that's okay to admit it. Again, we don't need to be perfect, When you are offering something extremely valuable, extremely helpful, you shouldn't be ashamed or afraid if it won't help every person, like 100% of people, or meet their expectations. If you are able to help like 90% of the people, to understand them, to meet their needs, or 95%, that's great. Always try to become better, to improve, but don't leave those 90% without support and help and competent advice just because there are other 5% people whom, well, maybe you're just not the right astrologer for them, and that's okay. So this is an incredible personal strength, actually, to stand up and tell people, I can help you with that, but I'm not able to help you with the other thing. Or sometimes I can make mistake, or I can't give you 100% guarantee, and yet I think that it's worth it trying, and for many people it's extremely helpful. So it's about being open with others and with yourself, being honest, and that's how you become better, actually, again, with a very high ethic and personal principles. Okay, let me see what else I wanted to share. Practice also. Practice is extremely important. You should practice a lot if you want to become a better astrologer. And here I want to share with you a very interesting concept. There is a book which actually you may read, which explains the whole idea. I think the book is called The Hero's Journey. The author was, I believe, someone's Campbell. It's quite famous, actually, quite famous piece of art. And it talks about, psychology and the path of the hero. And the hero is actually every person, every activity which we are starting, and how, what kind of steps we are going through. That's the hero's journey. It's like an archetypical path, and it's appropriate. To be honest with you, I learned about it when I was on a marketing education, or marketing or copywriting, something like that. There, they explained this concept to us, and I said, it's absolutely the same in astrology. You can, relate it to astrology as well. So what's the hero's journey? What kind of example should I take? Let's do it with astrology, actually. You have found out astrology. You have, a newly found interest in astrology, and you start learning. You're at the beginning of the process. You start learning in books, on websites nowadays, on YouTube especially. So you learn and you feel like you're gaining confidence, you know so many things now. You look at the chart and, for example, you see the person has the moon in Aries and you are so confident to tell them, oh, you must be quite impatient, maybe sometimes you confront other people, maybe your mother has been quite active or even aggressive sometime. And the other person says, wow, yeah, you are right at the point, that's so true. So you feel like, you are going through events or, circumstances where you feel like, oh, I know a lot about it, oh, I'm so good at it. Then the more you practice it, the deeper you dive into it, at some point, those things won't work all the time. For example, you see the moon in Aries, but for example, it's intercepted in 12th house, which you don't know how to interpret yet. And you say the same things to this person and he says, well, not really. I'm quite shy, or I don't really like to share so much my emotions with people, or my mother was quite missing, in my life, she wasn't present. And you start doubting yourself, well, why it isn't working, like 1 month ago I was able to read every chart and see something valuable, or not valuable, but true there, and it resonated with people. What happens now? I can't read anything, it's not true what I'm reading and what other people say. And that's part of the hero's journey. And you at certain point you are going to the place where you are seeing a challenge. You need something more in order to become better. So this is the point of the crisis. And there you need more than just the YouTube videos, the articles, or the other things. You need something which will get you there. And honestly, my idea of Mars Stars Astrology Academy was specifically for those people who have already learned astrology on their own, who actually have knowledge, but yet they need the system, they need the foundation of how all of that works, how to put everything. So this is part of the process. When you are learning everything, including astrology, there will be a point where even though you have learned so many things, you feel kind of stuck and you are asking why it's not working. I'm not able to interpret correctly what's going on. Is it astrology that doesn't work? Is it me that I'm not competent? Neither of those. It's just what the normal process of learning is. That's the hero's journey. So again, I would highly recommend you to read the book, to explore. There were other pieces, other points as well, but you should be prepared for that, for this crisis, when you will need something else, something on a different level. And it applies to every other knowledge or activity. I think they gave us example with skiing or riding a bicycle. It was, anyway, it relates to many things, the hero's journey. Another thing I want to discuss quickly about astrology and religion. Is there a connection? Does it mean that you have to be religious or you are not allowed to be religious? My personal opinion is that it doesn't matter. Everything is fine here. Personally, I consider myself a very spiritual person, but not religious in the point of, I really have to follow all of the rules, or to be scared of God, or to go to church like every Sunday. No, the church is where I am. I can always make a prayer in my mind. I can always feel connected to God. I truly believe in God, the creator, the force which is caring and loving for us. But you don't have to be. So you may believe in your own God or your own gods, or you may not believe in God at all. Astrology and religion are completely different for me. Spirituality and astrology, yes, I think they are connected. Like psychology, philosophy also, they work together, they go together with astrology. But religion, it's just something different, which you may like or may not like, and that's your choice. And another also thing I want to mention about the good and the bad things in astrology. Nothing in astrology is just good or bad. We are going to talk about it a lot in our training, but I want to share it with everyone as well, that every indication in astrology may have a positive and a challenging side. And it depends on how you are using it. It depends on what you are doing. And it's not a curse for you. And in my experience, the more successful people are those with the more difficult positions in their charts. So I would kindly ask you never ever to say bad things about your chart. Honestly, I have literally heard or read comments of people who say, oh, I hate my chart, or I hate this particular indication or conjunction, or I have heard people say I have a shitty chart. To me, it's completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. No one has a shitty chart, and you should never ever talk about it, or even, feel like this is true, because it's not true. Every indication can be used for something positive. So acceptance and understanding are the first step, and then working with that. So bad and good are things which we won't be using, in the regular way, because after all, we don't know what's good and what's bad also. From a higher perspective of the spiritual growth and so on. And that's why also, for example, it's not okay to wish someone, to become healthy, or, to solve everything to be solved, immediately, because, and I know it may sound very strange, but you don't know what's the desire of his soul. For example, this soul might have decided to go through some serious health issues, and that's the way it will grow. The path that this soul has chosen. So we are not allowed just to tell them, oh no, you have to be healthy, that's the best thing for you. You don't know what's the best for him. So anyway, another topic. I think that these were the main principles I wanted to share with you. And now also just a couple of words about Mars Stars Astrology Academy, which is gonna be something completely different from what you have seen so far. It will be an in-depth training, which will start from the basics, so even people who are not familiar with astrology can join us, but we are gonna go through the advanced level. And again, let me remind you about the hero's journey. So this is created specifically, it's designed for people who are in the middle of this crisis point, where they have knowledge and even some experience maybe, and yet they feel like they need something more, something deeper. So that's what I will do for you guys. The deeper part, the real understanding about astrology, about your charts and everything. So it will be a training which will last, I think, 9 months. Yes, it will be 9 months, the first part of it, which is only birth chart interpretation. We are gonna meet each Sunday live at, what was the time? 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, yes. So it will be 4 times in the month, 4 Sundays, and 1 bonus webinar, which will be on Saturday. And we are gonna use this bonus webinar only for practice. So I will share with you knowledge, information, but there will be some separate webinars which will be focused only on practice. Practice with your charts, with the students' charts, answering questions which you might have. So I will try to combine, the knowledge, but also the practical side, which I believe is very important. Of course, all of that will be recorded. There will be a membership area on my website where you will be able to find all of it and watch every lecture and see the materials. There will be other materials which I will prepare for you, recommendations and so on. So this is something which is just, for a different level of astrology. If you want to join us, you can use the link below the video, and there are different options for the payment. You can choose whatever works for you. And if you have some questions, of course, you are welcome to ask them. Let me see now. So do you have some questions which you want to ask, something you want to share about it? How long is the class? The classes will be 90 minutes long. I guess that sometimes we are gonna need a little bit more than that, so you should be able, you should prepare a little bit more, but I will try to present it in 90 minutes. Another question I see here. How about when the chart shows that the person will likely not be able to make a lot of movement or marry? How can this be interpreted in a positive way? It doesn't mean that you cannot tell this to the person. Of course you can tell him, but you may explain to him how he can grow personally, because of course not everyone on this earth is supposed to be in a relationship, and it means that this soul has chosen, this path of working more on their own, creating their own confidence, and it should be accepted, as a personal decision, actually. Do you do courses for beginners? This training will start from beginner's level. So we are gonna start with the ABC of astrology. So we are gonna talk about the elements, we are gonna talk about the planets, step by step the signs. So even people with no experience in astrology are welcome to join us. This is prepared, for everyone. Absolutely, we are gonna start from the basics. So this will be like, it's okay if you have never, learned any astrology so far. The training will begin on the 22nd of September. You can find the link in the description below. You will find all the information. There will be the program of what we are gonna cover, the payment options, and everything else. The history of astrology. It won't be a major topic. It won't be a major topic. We are gonna talk about, interpretation of symbols, for example, archetypes, and so on. But the history of astrology, it's just not, in the 9-month training, even though it may sound like a long period, but it's actually not that long. And you have to decide which are the priorities here. So the history of astrology is not a major topic which we are gonna discuss there. Yes, the classes will be, each Sunday, 9 months, so 4 times a month, each Sunday, and approximately once a month there is one additional bonus webinar which will be on Saturday. Okay, let me see other questions here. About the aspects, so keep in mind that this training, if you want to join us, you have to start from the beginning. So, it's not appropriate just to join us at the half time. You can follow the link and you will see the program there, because right now I cannot answer your question about which week specifically we are going to talk about aspects. Actually, I think it was at the beginning about the type of aspects, and after that different combinations are later. So just check the program for those specific things. About diplomas or certificates, there will be an option for a certificate after we cover the prediction, which will be later, which will be during the 2nd year. Because if you don't know prediction, it's just not, I don't find it, acceptable actually. So certificates will be an option after we cover the prediction, but they won't be, just, you enroll in the course, you pay, here is your certificate. No, there will be some assignments, some tasks, tests and so on. So it won't be guaranteed. So you need to really show that you have the knowledge and the experience, because after all, I'm putting my name on it, saying that I have taught you on that and you have, learned it and you are able to practice it. So, you have to show that you are really able to do it. So there will be option for certificates after we cover the prediction. About asteroids, we won't include them. This is another topic. There might be an upgrade after that, for example, like additional webinar or series of webinars, but the asteroids, they are not part of the fundamental astrology. And actually in the beginning I will explain this to the students, that I wouldn't recommend you to use them at all, because you may get lost in all of this information. Honestly, I see some people who they're not able to interpret, moon position, moon aspects, and they start focusing on Chiron, for example. First, you have to be able to see, to get the picture, of the basic indications we need. And those are the 10 planets from the solar system, the lunar nodes, maybe Lilith, even though Lilith is not, but yeah, it could be important as well. And after that, after you can work with that, you understand it, you will be good enough to interpret the chart and to make predictions. At some point, if you want to add more and more, you may add the asteroids, you may add fixed stars, you may add Arabic points, but this is an addition. Don't think that the Arabic points will reveal the secrets of your chart. You have to understand, the chart, the basics first, because honestly, the important answers and questions are there without asteroids, maybe even without fixed stars. In some cases, fixed stars for some people might be important, but definitely not for everyone. Okay, so I apologize again for the technical issues and everything, YouTube related. I'm sorry that we had to do this through another link. And if you want to learn more information about the training, check the link in the description. If you have some questions, send your questions to me. You can send it even to my email directly, support@marsstars.net. Just use this email. Send your questions and I can do my best actually to answer you. Or we can even have another live video where you can ask your questions. Okay, so thank you very much again. And yeah, we'll talk about it in the future again. Okay, so now I have to figure out how I stop this live streaming. Okay, this YouTube is like a mystery for me now. Okay, maybe I found out. Okay, thank you guys again for everything.